Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion. I'm excited to have you here as we explore a topic that touches all of us: how relationships work, especially sexual relationships. The title of our presentation is How Relationships Work. Throughout this session, we'll look at the fundamental principles that help us build satisfying and successful connections. Understanding these principles is key because ignoring them can lead to frustration, heartbreak, and misplaced blame. So, let's dive in and learn what really makes relationships thrive. These principles are axiomatic, which means they are self-evident truths that really don't need any proof. They are fundamental and universal, applying across all kinds of relationship dynamics, whether personal or professional. What's important to understand is that you have the choice to act in alignment with these principles or to act against them. However, no matter what you choose, you can't change these principles. They are fixed and unalterable. Recognizing this is crucial because it sets the foundation for how we interact and build trust in relationships. These axiomatic principles serve as the bedrock for understanding how relationships work at their most basic level. Even if you truly have the ability to fulfill someone's desires, if you fail to convey that capability, you might be approached no more than someone who can't fulfill them at all. This highlights how appearances matter greatly in forming connections. People tend to form relationships with those who can satisfy their wants or needs. Contrary to what many believe, thinking it's virtue, goodness, or love, that's often not the main attraction. It's actually utility, or the practical benefit you can provide, that draws others in. If you have nothing to offer that someone desires, chances are you'll remain alone. Essentially, people are naturally attracted to those who seem capable of satisfying their needs or wants. And if you don't have or don't appear to have those means, others are unlikely to seek a relationship with you. So, in the context of relationships beginning with desire, it's important to understand that what attracts people initially is the perception of utility, how well you seem able to meet their needs. Here lies the paradox of human relationships. Once you give people what they want or need, they often no longer need or desire the relationship. The core idea here is that many relationships are inherently transactional. When the need or desire is fulfilled, the relationship risks becoming obsolete or less meaningful. It's a bit counterintuitive, but gratitude alone doesn't necessarily guarantee that someone will stay committed or continue to invest in the relationship. The most effective way to foster long-term connection is to keep the ability to satisfy desires over time. This ongoing capacity to meet needs and desires is what sustains the relationship beyond initial gratitude or obligation. And that's really the challenge we face: maintaining relationships that are dynamic and responsive, not just transactional. Let's talk about what happens when we don't meet someone's wants or needs over time. When we fail to provide what someone desires or requires, it can lead to frustration. And that frustration often pushes the other person to look for alternatives, ways to satisfy themselves elsewhere. Now, on the flip side, giving people everything they want or need can actually backfire. If you're always fulfilling every desire, it might make your roles seem redundant. It can undermine the purpose of the relationship because it starts to feel one-sided or overly dependent. Another important point is that a relationship might never even get off the ground if you don't seem to have, or at least give the impression of having, the means to satisfy the other person's desires. If they don't see that you can meet their needs, they might not invest in the relationship at all. So, before a relationship truly begins, there are three main obstacles we need to be aware of. These are key hurdles that can prevent a relationship from developing or sustaining itself over time. Recognizing these can help us navigate and build stronger, more balanced connections. This principle really shows up in professional settings as well. Think about how companies structure themselves. Employers gradually satisfy employees' desires for promotion while at the same time controlling their future advancement opportunities. This creates a system that helps maintain engagement and loyalty, kind of like how personal relationships work. The key to keeping relationships strong is balance. You want to satisfy some desires little by little, but still keep the means to fulfill other needs and wants. It's a careful management process, always leaving something that the other person still wants or needs, while also nurturing new desires. It might sound strategic or even a bit manipulative, but really, it reflects how human relationships naturally behave. So, in the broader context of this presentation, understanding this balance helps us see how relationships, whether personal or professional, are maintained over time through this delicate dance. Relationships thrive when these principles are understood and applied, and they suffer when they are ignored. It's really about being intentional and aware of how our actions impact connection. When you're cultivating new relationships, applying these principles helps you build a strong foundation for long-term connection. Now, it's important to remember that satisfying desires strategically is key. If you only satisfy desires without considering the bigger picture, you risk losing the relationship to other alternatives, like greener pastures or different interests. On the other hand, never satisfying desires can lead to frustration and redundancy, which can weaken the bond over time. Another crucial point is about satisfying a desire completely. Sometimes, that's necessary to truly meet the other person's needs and deepen trust. But again, it's all about balance, knowing when to fully satisfy and when to hold back for the sake of the relationship. Ultimately, applying these principles consciously helps you create relationships that are resilient and meaningful. It's about understanding the dynamics at play and navigating them thoughtfully. Understanding these principles really helps bring clarity to our relationships. When we grasp what's happening beneath the surface, it reduces frustration and makes connecting with others much smoother. Ultimately, it can improve your relational success because you're approaching interactions with more awareness. Sustainable relationships, though, require a careful balance. It's about giving and retaining, knowing when to support and when to hold back a little. Too much giving can drain us, while too much retaining can create distance. Finding that sweet spot is key. Relationships tend to end when needs are either fully met or never met at all. If both people's needs are satisfied, the relationship naturally reaches a point of stability. But if needs are ignored or unmet for too long, disconnection inevitably follows. And it all begins with perceived utility, the idea that we're in relationships because they serve a purpose or fulfill a certain need. Recognizing this helps us understand why we start, and sometimes why relationships fade when that utility diminishes. So, to sum up, the key takeaway is that understanding these principles gives us a clearer picture of how relationships function. It allows us to navigate them more intentionally, creating more meaningful and lasting connections. Understanding these principles really has the power to transform how we see human connection. It's not just theory, it's about applying strategies that make our relationships more meaningful and rewarding. So, I encourage you to share this insight with someone who could benefit from it. Remember, relationships might seem complex, but with clarity and a bit of intentionality, they can become much more fulfilling. If you're interested in exploring these ideas even further, I'd love for you to join the Captain's Quarters, my exclusive self-improvement community. As a member, you'll get access to group consultations, exclusive content, and support from others on a similar journey. Plus, you can check out my best-selling book, The Value of Others, which goes even deeper into the economic model of relationships. So, I invite you to explore further and take these concepts to the next level.